Today we are going to be talking about weapons.
Bikes! I'm like, what the fuck? Stop selling drugs! And I drive up.
The plot's pretty simple. It follows a town called Maybrook where 17 third grade students vanish at exactly 2:17 a.m. And the only survivors in that class is a kid named Alex and his teacher. And so the entire story unfolds through many different perspectives, a lot of secrets, a lot of tension, and the town's fragile sense of normalcy is completely unraveled. It's part mystery, part psychological horror, and it's surprisingly really funny.
Can I offer you a nice egg in this trying time?
Yeah, he's got an egg!
I think that's one aspect of this film that I was surprised by. I didn't expect it to be such a good comedy. I think the film really thrives on its layered narrative, and it just pulls you deeper into a conclusion that, it's not bad. I think I had a lot of enjoyment with it. I could see people being a little split in opinion when it comes to the end, but the journey is really worth the watch. As I said before, the film is told through multiple different perspectives. We've got Justine, Paul, Alex, Marcus, Gladys, and James. I feel like those are the names. That's the ones on IMDb. The first one, Justine, is played by Julia Garner, who serves as basically the main character of the movie. She is the teacher of the class who disappears. She's under suspicion, she's carrying guilt, and she really is trying to hold everything together. She serves as the main catalyst for the film. Again, a lot of different perspectives, but it all kind of leads back to her. She does such a fantastic job playing an anxiety-riddled Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, so props. Next, we've got Paul Morgan, the police officer, formerly Justine's boyfriend, and his involvement is... he definitely plays an integral part to the plot. He, for whatever reason, serves as a lot of the comedic appeal for me personally. And yeah, his involvement is very personal and it impacts his professional life, and it's a very interesting dip. Alex is the kid, the only child who didn't disappear. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but very quiet, mysterious, and the kid who actually plays the character, Carrie Christopher, does such a fantastic job on playing into just playing a creepy kid. I don't know, it's one of the mainstays in horror in general, so when a kid does it well, you have to give props. Then you have Marcus, played by Benedict Wong, who's just such a charismatic actor. He's not given a lot to work with, in my opinion personally, simply because he was essentially a narrative driver as opposed to a character fully fleshed out, but he didn't really need to be, and what he had, he did well. He plays the school principal, kind of the morally stable anchor, and even though the stability is a short supply in this film, it's still nice to have that anchoring character within it. And then of course, we've got Gladys, who I'm not going to go too deep into it, played by Amy Madigan. I'm so surprised she would play a character like this, but she gets it right perfectly, just being a creepy presence of nature, and props to an actress who is playing a character that just seems antithetical to all of the other characters she's played and just doing it so well. Next, we have Josh Brolin's character, Archer, who also carries a lot of the emotional baggage in the film. The way that he approaches the character is one of realism. I really did feel like a parent was mourning in the film, and he just brought the character to life. Josh Brolin is pretty good at that. I feel like his role in No Country for Old Men is similar, and I would love to see him play this type of archetype in the future. And finally, we have James, who is a drug-addicted character that induces a lot of chaos to the plot. He's funny, he's got a lot of interesting moments, but he's basically there to drive the plot forward, so not much to say about his performance, but it was serviceable. I would say the first pro is the strong ensemble cast. Because the movie is told through so many different perspectives, everybody needs to be able to have the gravity enough to carry the film for their segment. In other words, everybody needs to be the main character for a certain period of time, and everybody does it. Everybody shows up. They give the film the comedy, the emotional weight, the tension that's really needed to have a film like this work. Another pro would 100% be the atmosphere and mood, whether it's the creepy moments, the fun moments, the tension-filled moments, and the mystery. It really keeps you guessing, and even though it feels tonally consistent, it also keeps you on your toes, which I really like. And it doesn't feel cacophonic, it just feels like it flows seamlessly between the different genres. I do also enjoy the narrative ambition. Using multiple viewpoints just isn't easy to build mystery up effectively. Sometimes it's easier going through with the Agatha Christie formula, where you just stick to one character and use different perspectives for the overall reveal at the end. But when it works, it works well, and it makes the reveal hit pretty hard, and they do a fantastic job in this film. As for the cons, this movie doesn't have too many. As I said, it's very well rounded. I will say, the two that I have is I think some of the supporting characters are sometimes underused. With so many threads, a few characters could have gotten more screen time and a little more emotional weight. I particularly emphasize Marcus, for instance. I think Benedict Wong's character was very interesting, fun, peppy, and I understand not everybody has the time to be in the limelight, but it would be nicer, especially the way that his character goes in and out of the story, to have a little more emotional weight behind what happens eventually. And B, I would say the ending. The ending's not bad. It's pretty good, and all things considered, I think my theater had a great time with the ending. But it felt a little jarring, and I understand that could be part of the artistry of the entire thing, but it just wasn't quite for me. Full disclaimer, every single rating scale is flawed to some degree. For instance, for Transformers, it's objectively a 5 out of 10 movie, maybe, but I'm there to look at robots in action, so it bumps it up. So how do I really have an objective scale? The answer is, I can't. Nobody can. That's why Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb are flawed. That being said, I will still keep the generic out of 10 formula, a weighing of the pros and cons against each other on how much I liked the pros as opposed to how much I disliked the cons. And so with that in mind, I give Weapons a very solid 7.5 out of 10. It's smart, unsettling, extremely well acted, and very ambitious for a director that I didn't really hear about up until this point. Doesn't land perfectly. There's some pacing errors, and the character balance is a little skewed, and the ending, for me personally, leaves a little bit to be desired, but it more than makes up for any of its flaws with the payoff, performances, and just the execution. 100% definitely worth seeing, and especially if you like horror, mystery, thriller, plus comedy, I think this is right up your alley. Thank you so much for sitting through my first movie review. My last video was James Bond. This was a movie review with Weapons. I'm not exactly sure what the next video is going to be. I know I want to keep the pace up. It's gonna be about cinema, obviously. Please like, subscribe, whatever it is. Look, it sucks. I hate when people say that as well, but I understand now how the algorithm works. Every comment helps, every like helps, every subscriber helps. So thank you. Hopefully we can keep this dialogue up and have a great week.